Hey guys, my name is Matteo, and today I want to talk about the changes that have been made to Conquest in Battlefield 1. You might be thinking, wow, this should be a riveting video. Are we really going to talk about a game mode for a couple of minutes? But honestly, this has caused a bit of a controversy and ruckus amongst the Battlefield community. Some people really like the change, the fact that it's more of an emphasis on playing the objective, and on the other side of the coin, a lot of the Battlefield veterans are wondering why DICE is going against the grain, going against the formula that has been the standard of this game mode for feels like a decade now. And so the way that Conquest works in Battlefield 1 is very simple. The more objectives you hold, the more points that you get for your team, and if you reach your 300 points by the end of the round, you win, or if you have more points than the enemy team when the timer runs out, your team wins as well. Very simplistic. Now, the way that it differs from past Battlefield games is that instead of trying to increase your team's score, you're trying to reduce the enemy team's tickets to 0. And there's a couple ways of going about it. The most obvious is just to hold on to more objectives than the enemy. Let's say, for example, you have 5 capture points and the enemy has 4. That means is that if everything stays consistent, and if no one's moving, no one's killing, no one's dying, nothing is happening, I know that this isn't gonna happen, but just humor me. If everything is just static, but the only difference is that you hold on to 5 points and they hold on to 4, their tickets will slowly bleed away and reduce while yours stay the same. The other big difference is that if you respawn, your team loses one of their tickets. It acts as a reinforcement, and so if you die, it actually has a bigger penalty other than the fact that you can't capture a point. It also takes away one of those tickets for your team, which, if it comes down to the wire, literally could mean the difference between your team winning and losing. Now, I realize that's not much of a difference between the other one. Really, at the end of the day, it's all about holding on to capture points, and the only other difference is that deaths mean a little bit more in the past Battlefield games. But it also has some implications on the way that the game plays out, and also your individual contribution to a match. Let's say, for example, you go 50-0 in Battlefield 4 when you're flying around in a jet. You have a monster of a game, you dominate the enemy team. That means that if every single one of those enemies that you killed respawned after that, you took away 50 other tickets, and the fact that you didn't die, you didn't lose any tickets for your team. You really contributed to the match. Now, some people might argue, oh, he's just going for kills, he's not really doing his job, he should be pushing the objective and playing the objective. And while I get that mentality, it's a very good argument, he's in a jet. Jets are in the game for a reason, and they're all about getting kills. That's all they're good for in Battlefield 4, really in any Battlefield game. I know there's a bit of an exception on the new map. You can technically fly around in circles around the E point and capture it, but in general, I have a feeling even in Battlefield 1, if you're flying around in a biplane, you're really all gonna be about getting kills. In the Battlefield 1 system, you're not contributing a whole lot because you're not reducing the enemy team's tickets. And while you might be taking out high priority targets like a tank down on the ground, more often than not, you're just dogfighting up in the sky, and dogfighting with other planes clearly doesn't have any impact on the objectives. You're just fighting people up above, and so it's just like this entire aspect of the game is not necessarily an afterthought, but it doesn't really have that much impact on the match, and you're better off fighting on the ground, play as an infantry unit, going from objective to objective if you want to win the match. So that's one big argument. The fact that certain vehicles and certain playstyles aren't really having much of an impact on the way that the match progresses because it really is just about being on the ground and holding on to these capture points. There's also less of an emphasis on reviving your teammates. Now, this isn't the biggest deal because you still want to revive your friends to get them up so that they can hold on to the capture points or so you can push up onto the objective itself, but because deaths don't matter as much in this game, it means that you don't need to revive them to secure and hold on to those very valuable tickets. I have had moments where I captured E, but I didn't have a transport vehicle like a Jeep or a horse I could jump onto, and it was better for me just to redeploy to get into the action faster. There was no repercussions for me doing so. Maybe this is just the map balance, maybe this is just poor map design, but the fact that the game is rewarding or incentivizing me to redeploy to get into the action just seems counterintuitive. It really rubs me the wrong way, and while it's not the worst thing ever, I think it is one of the flaws of this system because there isn't any penalty for dying or respawning back on in. Now, with all this being said, even though there are some rough edges, I like this idea conceptually because it's all about playing the objective. One of the mantras of the hardcore veterans of the Battlefield series for the longest time now has been to play the objective. If you're 1,000 meters away trying to snipe, you're not doing anything for the team, stop doing that, play more aggressively and get on these capture points because that's how we're gonna win these rounds. The funny thing is that now that we're finally getting a system that's all about these capture points, this is when people start to make the complaints. It's like, what the hell are you doing? We like the old system, even though it may not have been perfect as well. We like the fact that kills and death mean a little bit more. I think the one thing that most people can agree upon, though, is that the timer needs to go. I loathe the timer because it just doesn't feel satisfying to win because of a timer, because of this time limit. I don't think I've won a single round where we reached 300 tickets by the end. It's always because we had a little bit more tickets than the enemy, and even if we were gonna have an awesome comeback, we weren't able to have that comeback because the timer ran out. No one was anywhere near 300 tickets, and it's really unsatisfying when that happens. And so at least for me and everyone that I've talked to, maybe there are a couple of people out there that really like this system. I'm sure you'll let me know down below. But I think for me and a lot of people out there, I'd rather, if they want to keep the new system, which is fine, I'd be okay with it, I would hope that they would get rid of the timer because, at least for me, I find it to be very unsatisfying. And so I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Do you think that it should stay the same because you like that it's all about playing the objective? Would you change some things slightly? Or do you think that it should go back to what it was from past Battlefield games? Why screw with a formula that has been just fine for a very, very long time now? Let me know down below. For me personally, I could go either way. I might be leaning more towards the old system, but that might just be because I've played that system for years now. I mean, I played thousands of hours in the past Battlefield games. I'm comfortable with that, and any change is gonna be a little jarring for me. And so maybe once I play 1,000 hours in Battlefield 1, I'll get comfortable and I'll warm up to it and I'll think it's a superior system to what we have right now. The only change I would make, though, is to eliminate that timer. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. Once again, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.